Hello everybody and welcome back to another video by Funlearn Tutorials. Today's video style, as you can see, is a little bit different. I'm going to try a different format for explaining a rather theoretical topic that I'll be discussing today. So today's video is what is the difference between pooled data and panel data. Now, a lot of us, when we start econometrics or when we start learning the different types of data out there, we sometimes tend to confuse ourselves between pooled data and panel data. Now, why is that? Pooled data and panel data, when you put it in a table form, when you put it in the raw data form, they look similar. So, a lot of us sometimes use them interchangeably. But the thing is, there is a lot of difference in what we focus in case of pooled data and in case of panel data. The entire focus is completely different, and I'm going to try to explain why these two are different and why we need to make sure that we clearly understand whether we are using pooled data in our analysis and panel data in our analysis, because the results and what we are actually trying to find out will be completely different between pooled data and panel data. Let me first try to explain a sort of analytical an illustration to explain what is the difference between pooled data and panel data. Let me take case 1. Right. So, I'm going to first say I want to collect data about the height of 5 students, collect data about the height of 5 students of class 5, right. So, this is my problem for case 1. I want to collect the data about height of 5 students of class 5. I just said that it's about class 5. So, I want to find out what is the, okay, let me change my question. Let me put it the marks, that is the score or the marks or the score received of the exams for 5 students of class 5, or it can be 5, 10, 15 or whatever. Let me just put it like this: collect data about the marks or scores of students of class 5. So, what is my objective here? My objective could be, of course, to find out the cross-sectional difference, cross-sectional variation. What do I mean by that? Cross-sectional variation. What do I mean by that? I want to find out what are the different attributes of a student that contribute to the marks or the score of the particular student. So, how much effort they are putting in, how far they live from their school, what is their family background, what is their financial status. So, there are different attributes of a particular student. So, it's specific to a student. Different attributes of a, why isn't marking it? Oh, I didn't put the R. Different attributes of a particular student that affect their scores. Right. This is actually my focus. So, my focus is to record the different attributes of the particular student. I want to find out how these vary across the students. So, given a particular year, so given 2023, in a particular class, there could be rather poor students, there could be very good students, there could be average students, there could be a scale of students, a spectrum of students, and I want to find out how these different attributes, as I have mentioned, vary across the students and affect their marks. So, this is my focus here. Now, my data sample, so the class could hold, suppose there are 10 students in a class. Let's hypothetically, there are 10 students in a class, right? There are 10 students in a class. That's pretty rare in an Indian school, but let's suppose there are 10 students in a class. Now, for any econometric analysis, a lot of us know that 10 sample points is pretty small and doesn't exactly give you a lot of doesn't give you robust results. 10 students is very small for an analysis. Most of us need at least 30 students or 30 sample points. So, 10 is not going to help me. I need more than that. So what I can do is, instead of focusing on just 1 year, what I can do is I can collect 10 students from year 2023. I can go back to the school reports and I can collect the data for 10 students in the previous year 2022, and I can do that same for the past 5 years. So I have 2021, I have 10 students, the data of 10 students from the year 2020, and suppose the data of 10 students for the year 2019. So I have 5 years and I have 10 students. Now my focus remains the same. I want to see how the different students, the different attributes of the students record affect the scores of the students. So what is it going to look like? It's probably going to look something like this. I'll probably have marks, and I'm probably going to have data on, say, family background. Let's say I'm going to put on efforts. So it's sort of going to put in the hours of efforts that they have put in, how much time they have studied. Maybe I want to record the hours spent in the library. That of course is a very crude proxy for their efforts spent. They could have spent their efforts back at home. So it's a poor measure, but nonetheless it could be a variable that I want to look at. I could put distance. So that could be a very important proxy for that could be a very important attribute. If students are staying far away from the school campus, then they might have to spend in a lot of time in commuting. So distance could be a good factor. Then I could have financial status, right? So there could be different variables that would affect this, as I mentioned. Now what I'm going to do is, let me go back to the next. Yeah. So suppose it's a exam on 100. So there could be students who have scored 80. There could have students who have scored 90. Let's say there are 10 students, right? So I am going to put some random numbers here, or maybe just suppose I have all the all the 10 students marked over here. So these are the 10 students. I'm not going to put all 10 numbers over here. So suppose I have something like this. I have 10 students. Now I am out of students for my year 2023, right? So I just have 10 students in year 2023, so I don't have any more. So what I'm going to do is, as I mentioned before, I need more data points. So I will go back to the year 2022 and record the data set for the year 2022. That's what I'm going to do. So let's say I have a student who scored 89, I have a student who scored 78, so on and so forth. And I'm going to do the same for the next year as well. So I have a series of data set. Now if you look at it this way, it doesn't seem like a panel data, right? There's no time variable in here. But a lot of us sometimes write them year wise as well. So we may make a different column over here, year, and we can actually put the years here as well. So it will take a lot of time if I have to make the column over here. So maybe I want to write down 23 over here. Maybe I want to write down 23 here as well, to mark the fact that these first few numbers are from the year 2023, and suppose I want to write down 22 over here to record the fact that these students belong to the year 22. But the fact does not change that this part, this year column, it does not come into my analysis. Whether the student belongs to the year 2023 or the student belongs to the year 2022 is not part of my analysis. I'm not interested in that. So my focus remains the same. It's the different attributes of a particular student. When I'm looking at this column, it's a particular student, right? I want to find out how this person's effort, distance and financial status is affecting this 80 marks. So my focus is still a particular student, and I want to see how these attributes vary across the students. So when I'm looking at these columns, I'm seeing, okay, so these are the attributes that has affected this particular student's score. So how if a student changes its effort, how does his or her marks change. So that is my focus for pooled data. This form of data is called pooled data. So what I'm doing basically is I am collecting data over the years. I am collecting the data over the years, but not necessarily the same observations. Not necessarily the same observations. What do I mean by that? This student belongs to the year 2023. This student belongs to the year 2022. There's nothing which specifies or guarantees that this student and this student is the same. So I just need data for the marks of the students. I'm not interested in finding out whether the students are the same or not, whether they belong to even whether they belong to the same school or not. I just need data on these particular datas. So they are not necessarily the same observations. They can be different. So they can be different sample points. So I can look at different sample points. I just need the fact that I'm collecting data over the years is actually to increase the number of data points. There is no other reason for me taking the data over the years. It's simply to increase my sample size. My analysis is still cross-sectional. As I mentioned before, I am just looking at the variation across the cross sections. By that I mean I am looking at the variations across the students here. So my analysis is still cross-sectional, and pooled data does classify as cross-sectional analysis. So this is sort of what I mean by pooled data analysis. Now in the next video I am going to be talking about what is panel data analysis, and I hope I'll be able to explain that pooled data and panel data cannot be used interchangeably, and we need to understand, or we need to decide beforehand before starting an analysis whether we want pooled data or panel data. There are advantages and disadvantages of both, but specifically the question itself is different. In pooled data we are doing a cross-sectional analysis, and I'll be showing in the future video that panel data is not, of course, a cross-sectional analysis, it's a panel analysis. And stay tuned to look forward to my video next week. Thank you.